the shortlisting process and what to expect, the selection outcomes, and lastly, DSA conditions. So what is DSA? DSA stands for the Direct School Admission Program conducted by MOE. It is a special admission program that students can apply for to secure a position in a school of their choice before the open admissions for the public is started. All right, so schools will select students based on their talents, interests, and aptitudes. There are two main DSA programs, one for the DSA secondary schools and one for the JC. On the left is for the DSA, so we'll be focusing on that for the moment. It's for the primary 6 students. That said, the JC version is quite similar to the secondary school version, so you can actually use that as a reference. For more details, please visit the MOE website. So, what are some talents that students can use to apply for DSA? There are actually a lot of categories. Languages, arts, performing arts, sports, uniform groups, and many, many more. Of course, the most important category for us is the STEM category, which stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics. For the STEM field, we will be looking at the following categories, namely robotics, coding, and science and technology. Although the DSA program separates these aspects into their own individual categories, some schools do use the terms interchangeably and may be looking for students who are skilled in multiple categories. So, how do we know which school wants talents from which category? This is where we can use the MOE's School Finder website. In this website, you can set filters to check what schools are looking for and what kind of talent, or for which kind of gender. For example, boys school wanting boys and girls school wanting girls, and so on and so forth. All right. So, for example, the following schools will had their DSA programs looking for students in the STEM category. All right. So you can see you can actually set the DSA on the website, and then you can pick which talents you want to look out for, and then the website will filter which schools will be involved in which category. For example, here are some schools that were looking for students within the talents of coding, robotics, and or all STEM categories during last year's DSA program. Do note that not all schools from the MOE database are listed on this page. Next, I'll be going through the DSA timeline and the major events that you have to look out for. Right now, we are nearing the end of March, and the DSA program will only really kick off in May. That means that we have currently some time right now to explore future school choices. Okay, schools will gradually update your website with the 2024 DSA details as we slowly approach May. Do look out for these kind of updates and even open house details on the school's websites. This is actually a very good time for students to start consolidating their portfolio materials, as they will actually get quite busy in May with your mid-year weighted assessments. The next major milestone will be in May, like I said. Okay, this is where the online applications will actually open. Based on 2023's DSA, the application will be open throughout May and then will end at the end of May. So you can use that as a rough estimate for this year's DSA, but do note that the dates will vary a little bit each year. So always do check out on the MOE website for the official dates. Okay. After that, from June to September, shortlisted students will be contacted to attend interviews, auditions, and or trials at the respective schools. That's it. Each school will have their own requirements and can differ very differently from each other. Next, in September, students will receive their DSA application results. And in October, they will have to submit your school choices on the DSA portal within this period. Any withdrawals from the DSA program must also be done within this period as well. In November, students will receive their DSA school allocation results together with your PSLE results. For Sec 4 or 5 students, your DSA results will be together with your O-level results in January. So, what do we need to prepare? Schools will be actually looking for talented students that are passionate in their fields and fit into the school culture. So students will need to prepare a portfolio that will showcase their past works. They need to prepare a write-up that shares more about themselves and any testimonials that may give the schools more insight to them. So let us look at the portfolio first. Each school will have their own specific set of criteria that applying students should meet to have a better chance of being shortlisted. For example, we have two examples here, one from Pei Hua and the other from Maristella during last year's DSA program. It is recommended that the student's portfolio shows that they have experience or the skills related in the fields that the school is looking for. Alright, so now let's talk about what can be included inside the portfolio. Firstly, you'll definitely need to include some of the students' best projects and courseworks. This will allow them to show off their skills and talents to the schools. Next will be the competition and events that the students have participated in for. This goes together with any relevant awards and or certificates that they earn through these events and competitions. Lastly, any other relevant participation and contributions in related fields or other events like volunteers or those kind of events. It is highly recommended to start building the portfolio at least 2 to 3 years in advance. This will give the students enough time and content to flesh out their portfolio and also provide them sufficient time and experience to train for competitions. This is somewhat similar to students in sports CCA who will need to at least train for 2 to 3 years to have a chance to at least win at a competition. So the important question is, how can we help to build your child's portfolio? This is a roadmap of the course progression for students here at the lab. In summary, on top of the usual coursework and projects that the students will complete, there are many other opportunities for them to participate in for competitions, holiday programs, and even volunteer works. Going into more details, for example, for students that have started programs with us since junior, they actually have experience building robots with the Lego and using block-based programming on the Lego Spike. This can actually help to bolster their portfolio with both the robotics and coding aspects, as block-based programming is also classified under coding. Okay. Next, moving on to the coder. So students with the coder program with us and is learning how to use block-based programming here as well. So in the basic 1 and basic 1, basic 2, and intermediate 2 units, students will have to complete a student project at the end of these units where they will design and program a robot of their own design. These interesting projects can help to bolster the students' portfolio and show off your creativity and your skills in block-based programming. Next, students who progress over to the advanced units will be learning the Python programming, and this will be more focused on the coding aspects. Students who are going through or completed the advanced units will have the opportunity to create Python programs that they can demonstrate your skills with. Next, when it comes to certificates and awards, students that have completed programs with us will receive certificates upon completion. This includes extracurricular programs like the holiday camps. For the course certificates, students can access these e-certs and download them via the student portal. When it comes to competitions, we have internal competitions like the Lab Thinkers competition and external competitions that we are participating in as well. For example, the Coder Z and Code Monkey challenges. Participating in these competitions will help the students showcase their skills and prepare them for future other competitions and bolster the portfolio as they participate in more events like this. Here's a table of the external competition schedule. Do note that the dates might shift a little every year, so this will be just a rough guideline of when they will be held usually. Okay, moving on. So, for non-academic contributions, students can actually join volunteer service programs with us as well. So, for example, these are some programs that we actually participated in. Okay, moving on to portfolio tips. All right, it is important that to show the school that your child have the relevant skills in the domains that they are interested in. Try not to put in any skills that are not related, because that will actually clutter up and waste, space in the portfolio subjects. So it's important that you include the certifications. It shows their mastery and achievements, and of course the relevant stuff. Okay, so for relevancy, we can actually show things like, oh, what the school wants. Are they more robotics focused, or are they more coding focused? If they are more coding focused, do show more projects that are based on coding. Okay, so, and of course, showcase projects that students will be proud of and can they have things to talk about regarding the project. Okay, schools also look at the students' growth and development across time. So this actually shows the students' potential in being able to grow further and become an asset to the school. So it's actually important to showcase complementary hobbies and personal projects that highlight your passion. And this also helps to build personality in the portfolio. Okay, showcasing your personal skill in research and development, as well as students will have to, research online how to do certain things, and this actually shows a level of independence in your studies. Journaling is also very important, as students will need to keep track of your journey across time. So vlogging, blogging, or even YouTube videos are a good way to build a channel to document and showcase all of the projects across a long period of time. For examples, so we have a student, past student with us here. This is portfolio that he used for his DSA. He actually made a website to upload his own RPI Raspberry Pi projects. So he actually uses the site for his DSA, and he actually got into to Singapore School of Science and Technology. For the write-ups, okay, some schools will require students to submit a brief essay together with your applications and or portfolios. Some topics that the school will want the students to include will be things like hobbies, passions, ambitions, your interest in the field, relevant experiences, reflections on your journey, and what differentiates them from others. Okay, so these are just some, and it's just a rough guideline. Usually the schools will either mention what they want specifically, or they just leave it to the students to write. So, and it's usually bounded within a word limit. So the students will have to be concise about what they include into this write-up. Some write-up tips. Okay, so like I mentioned, stay within the word limit and to the point. Some schools will might specify what they want to write. Okay, some schools may want the students to physically write your essay, and penmanship will be very important in that case. Now, the write-up should always be in present tense, because it should be about something the student is still interested in. It's still in present tense, not past tense. And of course, you have to research the school's history, motto, strengths, achievements, and maybe even like your recent participations in events, or even like achievements, right? So that you can actually talk about, how interested are you joining the school CCA, and what can you do for them. All right. Now, please start writing it early so that there's time to edit and refine it slowly. All right. Okay. For testimonials, testimonials help provide the schools with more insight about the applying student, but do note that not all schools accept testimonials. These testimonials can come from the students, school teachers, and or from us. So if you do require a testimonial from us, do email a request to contact@thelab.sg at least 2 weeks ahead of time. All right, moving on. Now, when it comes to the application process, MOE will actually upload the official website, the official DSA website. Okay, so please do take note of any news from MOE themselves. Okay, so for students to pick your schools, you have to log into your DSA portal and submit the application. All right, the deadlines will be specified usually when MOE opens the DSA season. Okay, based on previous years, the online application form has to be completed in one single sitting, and there is no saving in the website. So to prevent delays or any hiccups, I will recommend parents fill in the application forms. You can actually download one copy of it. Fill in a copy of it, and then you can actually consolidate all the necessary materials beforehand, so that you do not get interrupted or sidetracked when actually filling in the student portal. All right, this is an example of the choices. So students can actually select up to 3 choices, up and three talent areas. So for example, you can actually select 2 talent areas for the same school. That's the max you can apply for the same school. So for example, you see basketball and bilingual for Catholic High. Okay, and the other one has to be another school. So for students in non-mainstream schools applying for DSA, do note that there are additional steps required before you apply for it. So you do need to go and get a registration number and so on and so forth. There are actually more details in the MOE website regarding this. So please take note as they update the details for them, right? Okay, so just for reference, on the left we have students applying from mainstream MOE schools, and on the right for non-mainstream MOE schools. Okay, so there's a little bit of difference, but do note that there will be some difference. All right, so as we move on with the process, students will get shortlisted based on the school selection criteria. So if the students are selected, they can expect to attend some of the following, which is aptitude tests, trials, auditions, interviews. It can really be a combination of any of these. So really, it really is up to the school to decide what they want the students to go through. So for example, these are some examples of the aptitude tests and trials that some of the schools listed on their website. So for example, some of them just do an interview and maybe a hands-on trial so that they can do some coding or programming on the spot. Some of them just MCQ tests. So it really depends on the school. So the interviews usually is a face-to-face with the school teacher or teachers in this case. So sometimes you might meet both the HOD and or the teachers in charge of the subject. Okay, so these interviews are the students' chance to share about themselves, show their passion, interest in the subject, share about the reasons in picking the school, convince them that you are the right choice, demonstrate your eloquence and confidence. So what are some commonly asked questions in the interview? So you'll be like questions about the student themselves. So like describe yourself, what are some hobbies that the students pursue, and what are some of their strengths and weaknesses? Very typical kind of questions. So questions about the school and program ought to be expected as well. So please test whether the students have made necessary research about the schools. So like why are the students applying to the school, among the other schools, how would you rank the school, that kind of stuff. Okay, questions will actually vary from school to school, so no two schools will have the exact same questions. Okay, moving on. So questions about the talent itself. So they will ask, okay, so like students experience in learning programming in this case, or like have they actually attended any programming events like competitions, kind of stuff, and maybe even ad hoc questions that test the students on your eloquence and whether they can present themselves in a eloquent manner. So for example, they ask about things like current affairs or global issues, or even like programming knowledge questions just to test the students' skills on spot. So some interview tips that students might want to know is that, okay, so that I want to know is that application forms should already list the students' achievements. So students should focus on sharing their experience instead. So for example, students shouldn't be bragging about the achievements, but about sharing, like for example, how they felt in the event, what they learned, and more of the event or the experience itself. All right, so students have to be confident. The interview is about showcasing themselves to the teachers and leaving a good impression. Right, and please try not to lie, because some of the MOE mainstream schools are actually interconnected in terms of the database, so schools can actually verify the student's account and check whether the students are valid. Okay, so students also will need to be smart about how they phrase their answers if they do not know how to prepare a question. This will rely a lot on interview practice. So lastly is because students might find it helpful to role play with family and friends, as this will help build the confidence in speaking aloud. Okay, so after the selection outcomes, there will be 3 possible outcomes. So one is the confirmed offer, next is the wait list, and last is unsuccessful. So when the students get a confirmed offer, they have a confirmed reserved place in the secondary school or the JC that they're going to. So to gain any admission, the students will still have to opt for the school during the school preference submission period. Do recall that the students will have up to 3 choices for the DSA, so they will have to actually confirm which offer they want. All right. So for the waitlist is slightly different from the confirm offer. The student will be given a reserved place in the school if other students who have the confirm offer turns down the offers. All right. So the students will also have to opt for your school preference in the DSA portal as well. And one thing to note for these 2 offers is that the students will still need to achieve a PSLE score that qualifies them for a course offered by a school. But give me a moment later on to explain more about this. Okay, so moving on to unsuccessful first. Okay, so if the students get the unsuccessful outcome, it means that the students will not be given a place through the DSA secondary school or JC program. Okay, and must take part in the respective posting process. So when we move on to the preference ranking, okay. So after receiving the offers, students will need to submit their preferred choice of schools via the DSA portal by the deadline. Okay, so for example, you see the picture there. So the students will have to pick their choices in an order. So 1, 2, and 3. Okay, the preference order will be resolved in sequence. So students will be very careful about which will be your first choice, second choice, third choice. All right. Okay. So so regarding the student results, okay, your child's results still matter. Okay, students offered placement in the school still need a score that qualifies them for the course offered. Now, I understand that some parents might be wondering, okay, so some schools have like a very high AL score, like let's say 7 or whatsoever. Okay, so now according to the schools like MOE, okay, so students offered placement in the DSA, okay, still need a PSLE or SS O level score that qualifies them for the course offered. So if you look at the example below by Maris Stella High School, okay, Maris Stella High School has no set minimum AL score for DSA, but because of them being a SEP school, they can only offer posting group 3 as the AL limit. Okay, so any students applying for DSA must meet this posting group 3 limit for their PSLE results, which means that your AL must be between 4 and 22 in comparison to your usual about 7 to 10 points for PSLE. Okay, so there is still a limit, although this limit is actually stretched quite far because of the DSA program. Okay, now if your child is admitted through DSA, they are not allowed to submit school choices during the normal S1 or JE posting process, and they are not allowed to transfer to another school after the release of the result, and must commit to the school for the duration of the program. If any of the requirements are not met, your DSA offer will be revoked. So please take note of that. So the lab is going to launch a personalized DSA consultation where we can actually help the students on portfolio preparation, project reviews, resume writing, trial runs on the simulations and tests, and interview practice. Okay, so for us over here members, we are running at $80 per hour, but for more information, you can contact us at the lab, contact at the lab.sg or call 8916-0017. Okay, so if parents and students need more help on the DSA portfolio building, you can actually consider this workshop. That's all for the session tonight. We'll now move on to the Q&A session. If there's any questions from the field, feel free to ask.
Juliana here. Thanks for the time. So you were saying that if I want one-to-one help on a consultation, so I can just reach out to the team and they'll be able to help out with the portfolio, right?
Yes.
True. Okay. Thank you. I'll do that. Thank you.
Hi, this is Sandeep here. So this resume writing, this is not applicable for this P6 PSLE, right?
Okay, well, I use resume writing here as the term, but usually it's for the write-up, the students write-up.
Okay.
So some schools will actually want the students to write a short essay about themselves, maybe about your hobbies or like even their experience in learning programming or coding. So basically, we can actually like help assist with this resume writing for them. It's more like we can actually look through it, give them some pointers on how to improve, what can they improve, what should be removed. More of fine tuning the write up.
Okay.
Yeah, hi. Can I ask for the consultations, right? And then the first part is to do the portfolio. So we need to do the consultations first, then we can start on the first step on portfolio preparation, is it? Or like based on like their weekly classes, they would have already done some portfolio there already.
Okay, so for this course, this workshop, right, it's more of a personalized curriculum. So it's like if the students already have the portfolio, then we do not really need to go in and make more stuff for the portfolio. We can just go through your codes, make sure everything's okay, make sure they understand what's going on. Yeah, so it can be customized in the sense that the students just have to consult on what they really need. So for example, if the student has a very good portfolio already, but they do need more on interview practice, they can always just work on the interview portions of it.
Sorry, portfolio, do you mean like the certs that they have, the competitions, or like what's portfolio
Okay, so
about?
yeah, so portfolio is a bit of both in terms of your project works and the certificates. So it's actually both. So in terms of certificates and stuff, I mean, those should already been issued when they complete the program. So not too much issue on the part. So we'll be looking at more on your projects. So like, do they have enough projects? Do they want more? Do we need to create more for them? That kind of stuff. So we can actually guide them on that portion.
I see. And this can be done like during the normal weekly classes, is it?
As in this consultation.
No,
this
so
consultation,
when you're building the portfolio,
generally
and
speaking,
then
I would prefer it to be external because as the students are here for classes, they should be following the curriculum and learning what they need to learn. The portfolio preparation should be something separate from the main classes.
Maybe I can butt in. I'm teacher Adeline. So teacher Xianjie is the presenter, and I'm the administrator. I think what you're trying to say is that whether the lab curriculum does prepare the portfolio for your child. So yes, it does. So specifically what we meant by portfolio preparation here is which project should we use? In the sense, while your child is with us, they could have multiple projects, 20, 30 projects, as they, have been with us for, let's say, 5-6 years. So we are there for this consultation, we are there more of like, okay, let's sit down and see which are the best project that your child has so that we pick a few. Because when you're doing the portfolio, you can't just submit 30 pages of work that your child has done. Usually you need to be quite selective. So we are there to assist in that selection if you want us to be a consultant in that sense. Does that answer your question?
Yes, but actually, okay, never mind. I think I will ask the question more privately. Yeah, because I wanted to ask like because the current curriculum that he's doing now is just mainly going to class and solving I think some challenges. So I'm not sure whether that's part of portfolio or not.
So I think in every, let's say for example, if your child is in the lab coder program, every level, let's say basic level 1, basic level 2, they are supposed to do a project.
Okay, got
So
you. Can,
that is the one that you would be showcasing as part of the portfolio. But however, because as you progress with us, you will have multiple projects. The question would be, which project do you want to present to the interviewer? Which project it's best, things like that. So it may require personalized consultation. That's where we are coming from.
Yeah, that answers the question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, quick question here. Just wondering, will the lab be helping to facilitate participation in competitions opportunities and things like that, or at least share the information of something like that, or are we supposed to source for our own opportunities?
Okay, so usually when there are competitions nearing the lab, the admin will actually send out emails out to the parents. So we actually do help facilitate in that sense. So do take note of your emails about upcoming events, competitions from us. Of course, if we do spot your child has certain, you're good at the programming or the lessons, right? We will actually sometimes tell the parents, hey, your kid so and so, we think that you're ready for this and so connection. So we actually do sometimes from the parents directly as well.
Okay, thank you.
Hello.
Hello, yes.
Yeah, I would like to check. You're saying that for the portfolio, right, it's ideally to be built up like 2 to 3 years for the experience there with the lab. So if my child start late, but his attendance is quite frequent, and then will it be like is it like a disadvantage for those who have like been there for so long and then they accumulate all the projects and works and the awards?
Okay, so based on that, I would say that because your kid has more frequent attendance, usually in terms of coursework wise, they should have a substantial amount through their own progress.
Okay.
Okay.
So
But in terms
will
of competitions, they may not have as many because some students maybe
Yeah,
class for like
correct.
2-3 years, so they have at least joined 2-3 competitions more than your kid. But all in all, we will try to facilitate that as well. So if you're interested, do raise up to teachers, and then maybe we can start taking note of
Okay.
it. That if there's any questions, we can actually tell you in advance.
Okay, for the DSA process, right? Will the school consider the ongoing skill that he's learning now? Like example, he's already done the advanced, so he's going to the next scaling. So will the school also look into the present he is doing now, the skill that's having now?
The school also will look at the present one because it's an ongoing process. So in that sense, if the student is still ongoing, usually it will be better to show the students progress about the journey. So I mean, at the point they won't really be like, oh, I'm not looking at something like very good, and then because you're still learning, so the student's still learning. So if it'll be best to show your progress. So like, oh, like maybe like day one I'm like this, then maybe like now I'm like, so that's a show of the progress, how much they learn throughout your journey. This will actually help to bring some personality into the portfolio and showcase your interest in learning the subject matter.
I see. Okay, thanks. So for the consultation, I think we'll make an appointment with the team. Thanks.
Yes. All right, thank you.
So I had the question on the project review, right? So this project review is for every school, or there are specific schools who need this?
Okay, so we'll focus more on our own school's projects here first. But if we have enough time or if students are willing to show us the external project, we can always take a look at it. But all in all, we will basically just go through the code, look through the project, make sure it is it looks good to submit, making sure the quality is there, yeah, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Hello, I have a question.
Yes.
Yep, can I check for this consultation, right? How does it actually? So, what's the minimum hours they have to commit in order to go through to be ready for the DSA?
I mean, the minimum usually the minimum is, I mean, over here the you must at least go for 1 hour, a minimum of 1 hour. Okay, but in terms of the number of sessions required by the students, there's no real hard limit. Because like for example, it's a chicken and egg thing. It's like, do you need help? Like, do you need like a consultation to know what to prepare? Or then after that, you can use a time period in between to prepare whatever you need to. Then you can always just come back for another consultation to check. So I would say that it really depends on what you need. Like for now, if you need project review, after that, do you need interview? If you don't need interview, and then if everything else is okay, then you can just stop right there. So it really depends on what the students need because it's a personalized kind of consultation.
Okay, so this is like ad hoc thing. I can get him prepared for all 5 items, and then maybe I just schedule an hour with you to run through everything, make sure he's ready, something like that. And
Yes.
1 hour will be sufficient in this case.
1 hour for everything like that would be a bit tough. But I mean, if they are well prepared, I think we can and something. But like I said, for like project review, we have to just sit down with them to go through the code, make sure they understand what's going on, you know. So maybe 1 hour, 2 hours, it really depends on the kid. So I would say that I need to take a look or give it a try.
Okay, so after reviewing, say, then you realize that okay, it's not sufficient. We might need more hours. So y'all will actually tell us that, oh, actually,
Yes.
we need to
Tell you-
consult. We need to actually have more sessions going forward.
If you go like I'll tell you or the student that okay, so you have this, what else you need to do? So I'll tell them
Okay,
what
can.
to improve on. Then if they do need more sessions to work on the improvements, then sure you can apply for more sessions. If not, like we said, you can just work on it and just come back to it afterwards.
Okay, can. Thank you.
That's a rough indication for those who are successful in these
Excuse
in the
me.
past, right?
Yes.
If you're, is also like a high chance of getting picked by a school if, example, like your robotics isn't that good?
Okay, so the thing about this is that you should always try your best to show off your skills and talents. So I would say that instead of saying that your robotics is not that good, what we will do in this workshop is to actually try to, you know, improve and then run through your skills, make sure you understand what's going on, so that when you go for the interview or showcase your portfolio, you can actually show that you are skilled at it. So we'll try to improve it in that sense. All right. So I would say that you will need to work on your talents a little bit because you are actually facing competition from students all over Singapore. So I would say that you will need to build up confidence in your own, in this case, robotics. Right?
I haven't included that I was bad at robotics in my portfolio, but like while doing the interview, they ask if your robotics is good. Something like that.
Okay. So these kind of questions are very common in interviews. So they ask you what makes your, like they say, oh, how good is your robotics? Or show me something that's very good. Right? So in that case, if we already know that these kind of questions are coming up, usually in the portfolio or like when we're running through the subject, if you're like making sure that you understand what's going on, we need to know that okay, you're gonna ask you this question. What is our answer for this? We need to prepare the answer beforehand so that you do not get confused or stunned when the interviewer asks you that question. Alright, so that's more on project review and interview practice, so that once you get used to the how interview works, you know how to answer these kind of questions.
Hi, sorry. Okay. You were saying the period for DSA is until the last day of the May. So if any point of the time, like after the submission, then my boy get any like awards from later competitions or any events, is it okay? Will he just slot in the latest awards into the portfolio? Will the school accept that?
Yes, usually they are okay with it because when you submit it through the online application form, it's just a very brief mention of whatever conventions. So some schools will actually ask the students to please bring any relevant documents or projects for the
For the
interview.
interview. I see. That the later dates, right?
Yeah. So
okay.
some of them can actually do that lah. So it's fine one. It's okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi, hello.
Yes.
I'd like to check, according to the flow of the lab program, right? Typically, the students start off with robotics, and then after they finish the basic, they move on to the programming. So currently, my boy is now in programming, and I think he might have forgotten robotics, which he did actually some time back already. So I am not too sure whether there is any opportunities for him to revise the robotics portion again after he finished the programming, because I imagine that in the interviews they might actually ask the student how strong or proficient is he in the robotics component as well as the programming component.
Yes, that's a very good question. Okay, so for us over here, if your kid is down in programming, let's say in Python, right, and they kind of forgot what they learned block-based basic, for example. So if they do want to do a recap or like look through your past projects, right, we can actually offer that as well. So we will just go through the whole programs, go through, so go through with them. Okay, do you remember what does this do? And if they don't know, we'll try to explain to them that kind of things. So we can actually like brush up your past skills lah, just in case they actually have forgotten the earlier stuff. Because I would say that if they do intend to submit the robotic stuff as well, they will need to at least practice, so that if there are any questions on that subject matter, the students will be able to answer the teachers. So it's about, I'll say it's more on the project review portion.
Oh, okay, but during his time, right, he actually didn't do the Lego. I think the program in the lab changes, right? I think recently we all introduced the Lego, one of the robotics system. So currently, I'm also not sending him for any robotics competition because I am not very confident of his skills. So is there any way we can like patch up on this area? Like I know there's some revision, but I am considering whether is there any kind of specialized training just to train for specific robotics competition.
Okay, in this case, it really depends for the competition, because robotics competition is a little bit different than, let's say, basic block-based programming. So I would say that if you need to practice on the block-based stuff, right, you can actually consider asking the student to make like your own personal project, so that they can actually brush up on the knowledge. We actually do have training for robotics competitions specifically. I'll recommend sending an email into contact@thelab.sg for more details of that. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of let me know that maybe we might just forget about robotics lah. Maybe just focus on programming for now, because I think the skills set for robotics is vastly different from programming. So yeah, actually, I think I will just give up robotics.
Okay. If you do want to inquire more about this, you can always just send an email over to the contact@thelab.sg email lah.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Me. What are the commonly asked questions during interviews?
Okay, so interviews usually they ask you to explain, maybe that tell the interviewers more about yourself and why did you want to learn programming, for example. So they ask you this. So something along those lines, they might even ask you questions like, okay, so let's say you learn programming for example, 2 years. How do you feel about learning programming? Is there anything that you really like? Is there anything you dislike? Okay, so the questions can lean towards something more personal, and this will require you to look back at your previous experience and tell the interviewers about whatever you learned, how you felt, and this kind of stuff. Some interviewers could even ask you like more like skills-based questions. So for example, they can ask you, let's say you learn Python programming, they ask you, okay, can you roughly tell me how to make a Python program to do so and so? And then you have to answer them to the best of your abilities. Okay, so it really depends on what the questions, but of course over here we'll try our best to prepare you for both cases, so that you will know, at least mentally prepare yourself for this kind of questions that may appear. Is that your question?
Yeah.
All right, last 2 questions. There's no more questions. We'll end the program shortly. All right, we'll end it here for today. If you do have any other questions regarding DSA, please email contact@thelab.sg for more details or any other questions and inquiries that you may have. All right, thank you everyone for participating. Good evening and have a good day.
Thank you so much. Thank you.